So you're thinking about moving to either Whitestown, Indiana or Lebanon, Indiana. Since they're so close together, you're probably looking at one or the other. It's very natural to look at Whitestown and then look at Lebanon, or look at Lebanon, then look at Whitestown. So in today's video, we'll be going through the 3 pros and 3 cons of each area so you can find out if it's right for you or not. So let's jump into it right now. Welcome to the Discovering Central Indiana YouTube channel. I'm Eric Pels with the Pels Realty Group, and if this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Central Indiana, go ahead and subscribe so you're updated on the market and everything happening in Central Indiana. My business partner Julie and I, we get calls and texts every single day from people just like you who are looking to make their move to Central Indiana. So whether that's in 9 days or 9 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or set up a Zoom call. So Whitestown and Lebanon, very close to each other, but they're 2 different cities. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the pros and the cons of Lebanon first. So con number 1 for Lebanon, Indiana is going to be the location. One of the biggest issues that Lebanon has is its location. It's located in the center of Boone County, northwest of Indianapolis and west of Carmel, Westfield, and Fishers. And unfortunately, there's not a lot going on in the town. There's not a lot to do in the town. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I've heard residents say that it's barely better than living in the middle of nowhere. But that might be appealing to you, especially if you like that more small town feel, you like the more country feel, that's kind of how you grew up, or you're looking to get out of the city and move to a more rural area, if you will, that has a more laid back feel, small town feel, or you're looking to buy a piece of land and build your own home, kind of away from everyone. Lebanon would be a good place to do that, but for other people who want more amenities and want to be closer to like the action of Indianapolis or Carmel, Westfield, Fishers, and Noblesville, it's better to be closer to those areas, maybe in those areas. So that's one con of Lebanon, Indiana right now, is there's just not a ton happening, not a ton to do, and that's in the location. Moving on to con number 2 of living in Lebanon, Indiana is going to be public transportation. So the public transportation system in Lebanon is really not great. It's pretty much non-existent. There is no bus system like you have in Indianapolis or taxi services. You do have Uber and Lyft, and that's really popular in most suburbs and in Central Indiana in general, just getting an Uber or Lyft. But it's difficult since Lebanon is farther out to get to certain areas, especially if you need to get to Indianapolis from Lebanon. That's going to be a very expensive Uber or Lyft ride. So that's kind of where you need to have a car, especially when you're traveling outside of Lebanon. But luckily, not all hope is lost. There are some private taxi services in Lebanon that will get you from point A to point B, but that's just in Lebanon. That's not going to take you to other areas like Whitestown or Indianapolis or Carmel, Westfield, or any of those. So that's where having a car is very vital, unfortunately. And that's pretty much with like any suburb in Indiana, in Central Indiana, I should say, you need a car to get around. So that's a very common thing in most Indianapolis suburbs. Con number 3 of living in Lebanon, Indiana is going to be its limited amenities. So it's a small town, right? There are local shops, absolutely, but since it's a smaller town, you're not going to have the same amenities that you have in other areas. Even like Whitestown's going to have some more amenities than even Lebanon. So I know a lot of residents will go to Whitestown to go shopping, go to certain restaurants, or even Zionsville, since it's pretty close, because Zionsville has a really cool small town feel as well, especially their downtown area. But that just depends on what you want. So you do have your normal amenities in Lebanon, like Walmart, Aldi, Kroger, and an abundance of gas stations. So I think it's funny, I counted 12 or so gas stations within a mile radius. So if you're ever in need of gas, like go to one of the 12 gas stations and you'll be good to go. So Lebanon has an abundance of gas stations. But generally speaking, most people don't work in Lebanon. They live in Lebanon and then they go elsewhere to go to work. They go to Indianapolis or Hamilton County or elsewhere. So, and then typically for things to do, you're going to leave Lebanon too, because there's not a ton to do right now. But hopefully, and with the economic development that's happening in the next 5 to 10 plus years, hopefully they will bring more things and attract more things to do, more restaurants and other amenities as well, since it's a small town that's slowly growing. Pro number one of living in Lebanon, Indiana is going to be the cost of living. As of right now, Lebanon's cost of living is 3.7% lower than the national average, which that's pretty good. And their median home price is also really low. It's $205,000. Now you might think, well, that's not all that low. Compared to other surrounding cities, it's pretty low. And so, for example, some surrounding cities like Zionsville, their median price is going to be $667,500. So that's a 106% increase from Lebanon. Carmel, you're looking at $565,000 median price, so that's a 93% increase, or more expensive than Lebanon. Westfield's, $516,000, so that's an 86% increase in Lebanon. Fisher's median price is $450,000, so 74% more than Lebanon. And Noblesville's median home price, is going to be $377,000, which is a 59% increase. So as you can see, Lebanon's median home price is very good compared to other areas. Now that median home price of $205,000 is just an average. It depends on where you want to be in Lebanon. If you're building like a custom brand new home, that's going to be a heck of a lot more than just being in like your regular like tract neighborhood with specs. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. And then the average rent in Lebanon, Indiana, for about 1,000 square foot apartment, you're looking at right around $1,400. Might be a little more depending on what kind of apartment you go to, how many beds, baths, and just the overall square footage. But in general, Lebanon is slowly expanding. There are some new construction communities in the area, not as much as Whitestown, but it's slowly expanding, but they also have a long way to go as well. Pro number two of living in Lebanon, Indiana is the economic development. So over the next coming years, Lebanon is definitely planning on expanding with different initiatives to attract different businesses for residents and attract jobs as well, such as developing new land for business, creating a business incubator, an innovation center for entrepreneurs, and creating their own successful business in the community. You also have the LEAP District, and the LEAP District is a big project that's happening in Lebanon, Indiana, and it's going to take a while for it to be completely built out, but it'll have industry-leading companies and startups and advanced manufacturing, and it's going to be pretty massive. It's going to be over 9,000 acres. So that's something to kind of look forward to, but again, that's on the like far horizon. Like it might be completed in the next 10 or so years, but I know that there have been other issues that have come up because, when you're planning communities like this and industrial areas, problems come up. You're going to have issues. You have a closed date, but you're going to most likely blow right past it. So, but that's something to look forward to in Lebanon. But again, that's going to take quite a while. So that's definitely a pro. Is just the coming up economic development that will bring people to the surrounding areas. And pro number three of Lebanon, Indiana is going to be the outdoor activities. Since it is a more smaller town, you have a lot of land. There's going to be more outdoor activities in Lebanon because they have several parks and playgrounds. Parks that have a water park, tennis, disc golf, and they have other amenities as well, or I shouldn't say amenities, other events throughout the year, like the 4th of July parade. And I went there as a kid. I remember it was a lot of fun. They basically would block off the street. They would have the parade come through. They'd throw candy at you, and of course that's a kid's dream, having candy just thrown at you. So getting all that off the street. And then one time my brother and I, we were part of that parade, and so we were in a little choo-choo train, and I remember I was getting kind of sick because it was constantly going in circles, and like, I'm over this, I'm done with it. So but it brings back fond memories of just the parade. And then there also is a Christmas event that happens throughout Lebanon during December as well. So that was the pros and cons of Lebanon, Indiana, but don't go anywhere because we're going to talk about Whitestown right now. So Whitestown isn't terribly far from Lebanon. It's about a 10 to 15 minute car ride depending on the traffic and the time of day. And con number one of living in Whitestown, Indiana is going to be the traffic. So generally the traffic is going to be okay throughout the day. But when you get into rush hour in the morning and the evening, that's when things get really bad, especially at Highway 65 and Whitestown Parkway. it can get extremely backed up. So also on Sundays, Traders Point Christian Church is like almost located right at the corner. Not quite, it's like a mile or so back, but it gets super congested right there because you got a lot of people leaving church and you got a lot of people coming into church. So that's one thing to think about, is the traffic. And so as other residents have pointed out to me, as people continue to move into Whitestown and there continues to be more building, traffic will get worse, unfortunately, especially during rush hour. Again, pretty much throughout the day, normal hours, 9 to 4-ish, it's generally okay, but probably around 4 to 5, 6 even. In the evening, it gets bad. And then, of course, in the morning, probably like anywhere from 7 to 9, it's not great either, just because people are trying to get to work and people are trying to get their kids to school and all that. So that is definitely something to think about. Another thing that doesn't help with the traffic and the congestion is everyone has a car in Whitestown. The public transportation there is pretty much non-existent, just like Lebanon. You do have a transportation system in Whitestown. I get the two mixed up. There is a small transportation company in Whitestown that will take you to a few areas in Whitestown, but again, having a car there is necessary, so that adds to the congestion as well. Con number 2 of living in Whitestown is going to be the rapid development. So honestly, the growth, it could be a double-edged sword for sure, because when you have rapid development, there's a lot that happens. Road closures, more people coming in and out of the city, especially with construction. So that will absolutely play a part in your commute time, because I know that many times construction companies and the city will have to shut down certain streets because they might have to redo the street to make entry into a brand new neighborhood or a new complex for businesses or what have you. So that will definitely add to your commute time, and it can add, growing pains, basically, because as you're growing, there's a lot more that happens. But my hope for the rapid development is that there will be more amenities within Whitestown. Whitestown has a little more amenities than Lebanon, but still not as many amenities as other surrounding areas. There's not a ton of entertainment options, so hopefully as the growth happens, there are more that comes. There are basic amenities, but if you're looking for something to do, it's going to be most likely outside of Whitestown. There's no high-end entertainment or much of a nightlife, so you'll have to go to like Indianapolis for that, or maybe a more nearby suburb. But even in Carmel, their nightlife isn't that great. People go home at like 9. So if you're looking for more of like a nightlife, Indianapolis is going to have that. So going to Indianapolis is definitely your best bet if you want a better nightlife. And the third and final con of living in Whitestown, Indiana is going to be they don't have their own schools. So when you move to Whitestown, Indiana, one of the first things that you will probably notice is, hey, there is no school system in Whitestown. So your kids are either going to go to Zionsville schools or Lebanon schools. It's kind of split in half to an extent. So one section is going to go to Zionsville, the other section is going to go to Lebanon. So that just depends. So honestly, what I would recommend is research the school districts, since it's divided. It's kind of interesting because that doesn't happen all that often within like the surrounding Indianapolis areas. But of course, when you get more into the rural parts, and I don't want to call Whitestown rural, but it's got a lot of land and a lot of expanding left to do. They haven't developed their own school system yet. It's not going to surprise me that when they do, it's probably going to happen hopefully soon. So they're probably going to annex more land to create their own school system. But of course, that also depends on the population. And since for many years, Whitestown's population hasn't been all that big, just like Lebanon's. Lebanon's population might be slightly bigger than Whitestown to have their own school. But what I would recommend you guys do is, if you are considering either Lebanon or Whitestown, or if you're just considering Lebanon, look at the different areas and look at the school district and how that's zoned. Make sure that, hey, I want my kids to go to Lebanon, great, so you need to be in that section of Whitestown where the kids will go to Lebanon, or I want my kids to go to Zionsville High School or middle school. Then you need to make sure that you're in the correct area for them to go to that school district then. So that is, honestly, that's a massive downside for Whitestown, is not having their own school district. It'll probably happen hopefully sooner rather than later, but I don't know when that would be. So yeah, that's definitely a massive downside. So jumping into pro number 1, and that's going to be affordability. Whitestown is definitely affordable, but not as affordable as Lebanon. But in terms of general, the surrounding cities, Whitestown is pretty affordable. They do have a lower cost of living compared to Carmel and Zionsville, especially Zionsville, since Zionsville is not terribly far from Whitestown either. But again, it's not as low as Lebanon, and Whitestown's cost of living is 1.4% lower than the national average. And in terms of the median house price, you're looking at $362,500. So definitely not as cheap as Lebanon, but still, it's cheaper than most other surrounding cities. For example, Zionsville is going to be 59% more than Whitestown. Carmel, you're going to be 43% more than Whitestown. Westville is 34% more expensive. Fisher is 21% more expensive. And Noblesville is going to be 4% more, I should say, than Whitestown. And when you're looking at an apartment, just like a 1,000 square foot apartment, you're looking right around that $1,600 a month mark. And again, it just depends on what kind of apartment you want, what area, and then there's a ton of new construction going on in Whitestown as well. Pro number 2 of living in Whitestown, Indiana is going to be the growth. Whitestown is one of the fastest growing areas within the Indianapolis area, or just outside the Indianapolis area. There is a ton of new development and business, and that is definitely increasing the amenities and the job opportunities in Whitestown, which is really great. And the nice thing is it's a little more conveniently located near Indianapolis, so it offers some easy access to city amenities, job market, and entertainment options within, say, Indianapolis. There's also a ton of economic opportunities since the town's rapid growth that is attracting new businesses and developments, leading to local job growth, opportunities, more amenities. I know that Amazon, in the past probably 5 to 10 years, they have like a massive warehouse in Lebanon, so that definitely contributes to jobs. Now you can think of whatever you want with Amazon. You can like them or not like them, but the same day delivery or next day delivery is super nice. But just the growth in Lebanon is just pretty much exploded since it's one of the fastest growing areas in outside of Indianapolis. There's also a ton of new construction homes as well. So more and more people are being attracted to Whitestown. More and more people are being attracted. More homes are going up. So that's kind of what is also contributing to a higher median sales price of a home versus Lebanon, which is really, really low compared to, honestly, Whitestown. And Whitestown median price is still, relatively cheap, depending on, what your thought is on that. But at the same time, when you compare it to other cities, it's a lot cheaper. And there are more, honestly, options when it comes to new construction and homes in Whitestown than there is Lebanon at the moment. Of course, you got the Leap District that's happening in Lebanon, but pros and cons to both. Pro number 3 of living in Whitestown, Indiana, is going to be the parks and recreational activities. So Whitestown does have several parks and recreational facilities that provide opportunities for different activities outside and leisure. And the town also hosts various local events and festivals throughout the year as well. So that's super nice, especially if you want to try and get out and be out in nature more, especially like during the fall. Fall in Indiana, it can be really beautiful with the leaves changing, except if you have allergies like me, then you're going to be miserable a lot. So, but the nice thing is there are many things to do within Whitestown in terms of outdoor activities, and we'll cover more of that in the tour of Lebanon and Whitestown. So those are my pros and cons of Lebanon and of Whitestown. And comment below, what area do you think you guys would prefer to live in? Would it be Lebanon or would it be Whitestown? Each town has their own unique features, and so definitely what I would recommend you guys, if you're considering one over the other, go through and drive them on the weekends, see what you like better. Do you like Whitestown, or do you like Lebanon? Lebanon's going to have a more rural feel than Whitestown. Whitestown's going to have a little more of a, I can't say Lebanon's going to be a rural feel. It's going to be a little more of a city feel, but you're just going to have to drive through it and really experience it for yourself. And so we're also going to be taking you guys on a tour throughout those two cities, so you can kind of get a feel of, hey, I like this area better than I like this other area. It's definitely food for thought. And in terms of like housing, there are more housing opportunities in Whitestown right now because of the new construction than Lebanon. Lebanon does have a little bit of new construction, but it's not nearly as much as Whitestown, but things are slowly happening in Lebanon. So, and remember, if you're looking to move in 9 days or 9 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or set up a Zoom call.